My fiancée wanted my abusive parents at our wedding. When I said no, she called me ungrateful. Now the wedding's canceled, and I finally feel free that I'm 29 now. When I was 17, my parents kicked me out. Not in the dramatic teen runaway kind of way, but in the cold, calculated way that leaves a scar you don't even notice until years later. I had just come out as bisexual. My father told me to pack my things, and my mother, who had always been the softer one, just stood in the doorway with her arms crossed. His exact words: "If you're going to live this kind of lifestyle, you won't do it under my roof. Don't come back." And I didn't. I slept on a friend's couch for months, picked up shifts at a diner, finished high school while working nights. College was a patchwork of student loans, part-time jobs, and one or two scholarships I was lucky enough to land. I built my adult life on the ashes of their rejection. For years, I told myself I didn't need them. And in many ways, I didn't. But there's still a hole where parental love should have been. Therapy helped me name it, at least. Fast forward to now. I've been with my fiancée, Claire, 27, for 3 years. We met through mutual friends. She's grounded, practical, funny in a dry way. We clicked fast. I told her about my family history early on, not all the gritty details, but enough so she'd understand why she'd never meet my parents. She was sympathetic, supportive. She even said, "They lost out on knowing you. That's their failure, not yours." Until we started planning the wedding. It began with small comments. "Do you think your mom would want to see you in a tux?" Or, "What if your dad has changed since then?" At first, I brushed it off. I figured she was just imagining the fairy tale version of weddings where estranged families reconcile. But then it escalated. Last week, she flat out said, "I think it would mean a lot to you later in life if your parents were there. This is bigger than whatever happened back then. You should at least invite them." Whatever happened back then. That phrasing hit me like a punch. Like she was trivializing the years I spent scraping by, the birthdays spent alone, the countless times I debated whether to call them just to hear their voices, and remembered how they told me never to come back. I told her firmly, no, they are not part of my life. They don't get to parachute in for the happy moments after abandoning me for the hard ones. She got quiet, then frustrated. She said, "It just feels wrong to get married without your family there." Here's the kicker. Claire's very close with her family. Her parents are lovely. I get along with them well. I think part of this is her projecting her version of family onto mine. To her, parents are automatically invited. To me, parents are people who proved, repeatedly, that I wasn't good enough for them. Now, I'm lying awake at night asking myself, do I even want to marry someone who can't grasp this boundary? If she can't respect the single biggest wound in my life, what else will she dismiss down the line? I love her. I want a life with her. But I can't shake this feeling of betrayal every time she insists I extend an olive branch to people who set fire to the tree in the first place. And that seed of doubt, do I even want this marriage anymore, is growing louder. I thought maybe if I stayed calm, she'd let it go. People have disagreements during wedding planning all the time. Stress makes people pushy. I told myself it was just the pressure talking. But it didn't go away. Last weekend, Claire and I sat down with her parents to finalize some logistics. We were talking about seating charts and catering. Out of nowhere, she said, "I still think we should keep 2 spots open in case Opie's parents show up." Her mom looked confused. Her dad raised his eyebrows. I froze. I'd never told her parents the full story, just that I was estranged. So I said, carefully, "They won't be coming. Please don't plan around them." But Claire didn't let it go. She said, "You don't know that. People surprise you." I could feel the heat in my face. I didn't want to explode in front of her parents, so I swallowed my words and stayed quiet. But that car ride home, it was the first real fight we'd had in months. I told her, "You need to stop. This isn't your call to make." She fired back, "I just don't want you to regret this. Years from now, when we have kids, don't you think you'll wish your parents could have been there at our wedding? They're still your mom and dad." That phrase again, "They're still your mom and dad." I snapped. No, they forfeited that title when they kicked me out at 17. I needed them then. They weren't there. They don't get to waltz in now because the event is Instagram worthy. The silence after that was brutal. She crossed her arms, turned toward the window, and said, "You're so stubborn. It's like you want to punish them forever." Punish them? I couldn't believe she said that. For me, forever started the day my father told me I wasn't welcome in his house. I didn't invent the punishment. They did. I just lived with the consequences. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because she asked me to, but because I couldn't lie in bed next to someone who refused to see the difference between boundaries and grudges. Over the next few days, I reached out to people I trust. First, my therapist. She's been with me through a lot, and she reminded me, boundaries aren't cruelty. They're clarity. Claire isn't wrong for wishing you had a fairy tale reconciliation. But if she can't respect your reality, that's not love of you. That's love of a story she wants to write. That hit hard. Then, I spoke with my best friend, Marcus, who's known me since high school. He was there the night I slept on his couch after being kicked out. When I told him what was going on, he just said, "Bro, if she can't see why this matters, she's not marrying you. She's marrying the version of you she wants to fix." I hated how much that made sense. By midweek, Claire tried to smooth things over. She cooked dinner, lit candles, acted like everything was fine. Halfway through the meal, she said, "I know I've been pushing. I just, I care about you, and I want the best for you. Don't you see that?" I sighed. I do see it. But you need to understand, your idea of the best isn't the same as mine. For me, the best means never seeing those people again. That's peace. That's safety. She looked at me, really looked at me, and I thought maybe she finally got it. But then she said, "Maybe you should try calling them once. Just once. If they reject you again, fine. At least you'll know you tried." And that's when I realized, she doesn't get it. At all. Because I don't need to try. I don't owe my abusers one more ounce of myself. It's not about closure. It's about self-preservation. Since then, my brain's been spinning. The wedding is only 3 months away. Deposits are paid. Venue's booked. Her family is excited. I was excited. But now, every time I picture the aisle, the flowers, the music, I don't see joy. I see Claire's face saying, "They're still your mom and dad." I see myself trapped, replaying this argument in 1,000 other contexts, with kids, with holidays, with any decision where my boundaries clash with her romanticized ideals. I keep asking myself, if she can't respect this line in the sand, how many other lines will she cross? Do I want to marry someone who thinks I'm punishing my parents just for protecting myself? Last night, I drafted a list. 2 columns. On the left, reasons to go forward with the wedding. On the right, reasons to stop. The go forward list had maybe 3 items. I love her. I enjoy our life together most of the time. I don't want to disappoint her family. The stop list had 12, including, I don't trust her to defend me when it matters. I don't feel safe being vulnerable with her anymore. I can't raise kids with someone who thinks abuse can be glossed over with a second chance. Looking at that list broke something inside me. Because I realized, I already know the answer. I'm just terrified to say it out loud. Update 1. The list sat folded in my wallet for 3 days before I showed it to anyone. Every time I touched it, I felt like I was holding something radioactive. Like, once it was exposed, I wouldn't be able to pretend anymore. On Thursday, I pulled it out during therapy. My therapist read it slowly, then handed it back and said, "You've already made the decision. You just haven't admitted it to yourself yet." She was right. But there's a difference between knowing something in your gut and being ready to dismantle an entire future. Claire's family is invested, emotionally and financially. Deposits are down on a venue that her mom has dreamed about since Claire was a kid. Invitations are printed. There are group chats buzzing with flower arrangements and playlists. The thought of walking away feels like detonating a grenade in the middle of all that. Still, I couldn't ignore it anymore. The first practical step I took was calling the venue. I pretended to be just checking in about cancellation policies. They confirmed what I already suspected. If we cancel now, we lose half the deposit. Painful, yes, but not catastrophic. The real hit would be if we canceled within 30 days of the wedding. That gave me a mental deadline. Decide soon, or risk bleeding more money into something my heart isn't in. Then I checked the contracts for catering and photography. Similar rules. Some deposits lost, but nothing that would bankrupt me. It was strangely comforting to know that, at least logistically, walking away was survivable. The harder part was emotional. On Saturday, Claire asked if I wanted to go over the vows we'd been drafting. My chest tightened. The idea of standing up in front of everyone, promising forever, while knowing this unresolved fight hung between us. I couldn't do it. So I told her, "We need to talk. Not about the vows. About us." She put her pen down, wary. "What now?" I unfolded the list. I made this because I'm not sure I can marry you. Her face went white. What are you talking about? I read it aloud. Not all 12 items. That felt cruel, but the big ones. I told her how it feels when she dismisses my pain as punishing my parents. How I can't picture raising children with someone who thinks abusers deserve another chance. How love, to me, is inseparable from respect for my boundaries. Her reaction was messy. At first, she cried. Then she got defensive. You're throwing away everything we've built because of one disagreement. I said, it's not one disagreement. It's the fact that this disagreement revealed how fundamentally differently we see the world. I can't unknow that. She yelled, so you're just done? After everything? You're just going to give up? I stayed calm. I'm not giving up. I'm choosing not to spend the rest of my life fighting the same battle over and over. That made her angrier. She stormed into the bedroom, slammed the door. That night, I slept on the couch again. In the dark, I replayed everything. Her tears, her anger, the way she looked at me like I'd betrayed her by refusing to betray myself. And yet, there was relief. Saying it out loud. I'm not sure I can marry you. Lifted something off my chest. I'd been carrying the doubt in silence. But once it was spoken, it felt less like a secret and more like a truth I could act on. The next morning, Claire's mom called me. She sounded shaken. Claire said you're thinking of canceling the wedding. Is that true? I hesitated, then said, it's possible. We have some serious issues we haven't resolved. Her mom sighed. I know you've had a rough past with your parents. But marriage is about compromise. If you love my daughter, you'll find a way to work through this. I bit back the urge to say something sharp. Instead, I said, respect isn't a compromise. It's a requirement. She went quiet, then hung up. That told me everything I needed to know. Even her parents saw this as me being difficult, instead of me protecting myself. By Monday, Claire tried a new approach. She came home with takeout from my favorite place, sat down across from me, and said softly, I don't want to lose you. I don't. But I just keep thinking, maybe you're making this decision out of fear. What if we tried couples counseling before we throw everything away? That caught me off guard. It was the first suggestion that didn't involve her parents at all. And maybe counseling could help. Not to fix me, but to determine if we were truly compatible long term. I told her I'd think about it. But here's the thing. I've already done counseling. I've sat in rooms and untangled my trauma. I've worked hard to accept that my parents' rejection wasn't my fault. I've built a life on those lessons. The idea of dragging Claire into therapy just to teach her why my boundaries matter feels backwards. Shouldn't the person who claims to love me already respect that? Part of me wonders if counseling would just delay the inevitable. Right now, I'm living in limbo. The wedding's still technically on the calendar. Guests are still RSVPing. Claire is still holding out hope that we'll fix this. But I can't shake the feeling that what needs fixing isn't us. It's her refusal to accept who I am, scars and all. I haven't pulled the trigger yet. But the more I picture walking down that aisle, the more certain I feel. I can't marry someone who doesn't see me. Final update. The decision came on a Wednesday afternoon, as anticlimactic as flipping a light switch. I was staring at the wedding binder, color-coded tabs, vendor receipts, seating charts, and I realized I hadn't opened it in over a week. The sight of it didn't bring excitement. It brought dread. That was the moment I knew. If walking toward the wedding feels like walking into a trap, then the bravest thing I can do is stop walking. I closed the binder, set it aside, and picked up the phone. The first call was to the venue. Hi, this is my name. I'm calling to cancel our reservation for the 14th. The coordinator hesitated. Cancel? Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. The words were steadier than I expected. A little numb, maybe, but solid. She confirmed the deposit would be lost, emailed me paperwork, and just like that, the wedding was no longer on their books. Next, I called the caterer, then the photographer. With each call, the knot in my stomach loosened. Painful? Absolutely. But also liberating. Telling Claire was the hardest. When she came home that evening, she saw the empty binder on the coffee table and froze. What did you do? I canceled it, I said. The wedding's off. Her eyes filled with tears instantly. No, no, you didn't. Please tell me you didn't. I did. I swallowed hard. Claire, I love you. But love isn't enough if we can't respect each other's boundaries. I can't promise forever to someone who thinks my pain is negotiable. She shook her head violently. So that's it. For years. Gone. Because I want you to have a relationship with your parents? No, I said. Because you want me to sacrifice myself for them. Because you think love means erasing what they did. And I can't do that. Not for them. Not even for you. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. I thought you were stronger than this. I thought you'd fight for us. I am fighting, I whispered. Just not in the way you wanted. Word spread fast. The next morning, I had voicemails from her mom, her dad, her aunt, all variations of the same theme. Don't throw this away over a grudge. One even said, marriage means compromise. You'll regret this. But here's the thing. Compromise is choosing between two equally valid needs. This wasn't compromise. This was erasure. And if I'd gone through with it, the regret would have been lifelong. My family, the ones who disowned me years ago, tried to use the chaos to slither back in. My father texted, "We heard you canceled the wedding. Maybe now we can talk." I stared at the screen for a long time. Once upon a time, that message would have broken me open. Now, it just confirmed everything. They weren't sorry. They weren't changed. They saw vulnerability and smelled opportunity. I didn't reply. The days that followed were brutal. Claire moved in with her parents temporarily. We divided up furniture, dishes, books. Every drawer I opened felt like peeling back the skin of a wound. But underneath the grief was something else, clarity. I started sleeping through the night again. I didn't realize how long I'd been lying awake, rehearsing arguments in my head, imagining what-ifs, bargaining with myself. Once the decision was made, the noise quieted. One night, a week after canceling, I met up with an old friend for coffee. She asked how I was holding up. "I feel like I burned my house down," I said. "But the crazy part is, I can breathe in the ashes." She smiled sadly. Sometimes fire is the only way to get rid of rot. That stuck with me. Claire tried one last time. She showed up at my apartment with red eyes and a trembling voice. "We can still fix this. We don't have to throw it away. Please, I'll stop pushing about your parents. I'll drop it forever." For a flicker of a moment, I almost caved. Seeing her broken hurt more than I expected. But then I remembered, she didn't just disagree once. She fought me on it. She rallied her family against me. She turned my pain into a battlefield. Even if she meant her words now, it wasn't because she understood. It was because she was afraid of losing me. That's not the same thing. "I'm sorry, Claire," I said gently. "But we're done." Her face hardened. "You'll regret this," she spat, before slamming the door behind her. Maybe she's right. Maybe someday I'll wonder if I made a mistake. But today I feel free. So here's where I am now. The wedding is officially canceled. Claire and I are no longer together. Her family thinks I'm cold-hearted. My family is still out of the picture. And me? I'm okay. Hurting, but okay. I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know when, or if, I'll try again with love. But I do know this. I'd rather be alone and whole than partnered and erased. I chose myself. For the first time in a long time, that feels like enough.